people don't want to be pitched to. They don't want to hear, we're this and we're that. They want to understand how you're going to help them.
Sweet. So, actually, what we're going to do is I'd like you to just start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your background and who you are, and give people a sense of what's going on in your world right now.
Sure. So my name is Lindsay Panchyshyn. So I'm the current marketing manager for Westgen Technologies. I've been here for just a couple months, but I've been in marketing for probably over 20 years now, and started when I was young. So when I was in high school, I did an internship actually at the Bay, and I worked on their visual merchandising team. So I got to really kind of understand that retail side and display and the creativity. It was really the intro into my marketing career, and then just kept going from there. I'm originally from Ontario, and moved out here after I was done school. So I went from working on more of the retail beauty side of marketing to agriculture, oil and gas, very industrial focus. So I've been kind of all over the map. So it's been an interesting journey, but a fun one.
We talked a little while back, and you had told me a little bit about your, I guess, prerequisite for working with an organization in terms of believing in where they're going, believing on who's driving the ship. Tell me about what has drawn you to Westgen Technologies, and what is the most exciting part about being there for you and contributing to that marketing function?
Yeah, so a really big thing for me is, and you touched on this, is really on the leadership part of an organization. So really having a vision and a purpose for what we're doing as a company is extremely important to me. And I think really it makes my job as a marketer a lot easier because I'm able to communicate really what we're trying to do here. And it comes across, I feel, as a very meaningful purpose of what we're doing rather than just selling any sort of product. So that's really what drew me to Westgen. And something that we're doing right now is a complete rebrand. So we're actually working at doing everything. We're renaming the company. We're
Oh,
doing
wow.
a whole facelift of our our colors, our refining our messaging, really getting that purpose down pat. And then as an organization, just really kind of building that foundation. So it's very exciting, and yeah, big things are happening.
When, regardless if you're in a B2C or B2B scenario, it really comes down to what problems do we solve, and for who, and why are we the best suited to solve those problems. So you've been there a short time now, but have you gone through defining the one or two or three different segments that you're looking to make their lives a little bit easier, and who are?
Yeah. Yeah, so I always look at, and I hear this a lot, like B2B and B2C. At the end of the day, we're really marketing to a person. It is a very emotional journey, whether you're buying from a business or you're buying something personally for yourself. And I do think that there is lots of things as a B2B organization that we need to make sure that we're addressing so people know that we're there to solve their problems rather than just say we're there to solve their problems. So
Right.
through this rebrand, we really are working on refining those messages and making sure that those personal touch points are happening throughout the organization so that that emotional connection continues through their whole journey of seeing who we are and what we do.
You talked about the combination being required to not only say the problems you can fix, but then actually back that up with some evidence based information, or maybe an initial experience they feel. Can you tell me a little bit about how you, either in this role or in companies in the past, have married the two together? Not only what are we saying we are, but then how does that trickle into the actual experience?
Yeah.
of the user.
So I would say in my experience in this role, we're really kind of starting to get there, but in past roles, is not just to be a salesy pitch, right? That doesn't connect. So what I found in a previous role and through COVID is that people don't want to be pitched to. They don't want to hear, we're this and we're that. They want to understand how you're going to help them. So removing and we're doing it here, just removing product completely and just really putting to the forefront who our people are and how educated and knowledgeable they are about specific topics and solutions. Really, I think helps build that credibility of who the organization is and who the people are, and it makes people more comfortable to want to do business with you because they know you have their best interests and you're there to educate, not just to sell.
Interesting. Yeah. So in your industry currently with Westgen, what's an example of a piece of content or a resource that topically is relevant to your customer segment, and what is an example of how it adds value to them?
For sure. So we have definitely a lot of new regulations and government policies that are happening through Canada and the US. A lot of those documents are huge. They're 800 plus pages. It's a lot for people to have to go through and try to understand, how is this going to impact me? How is this going to impact my business? So we have dedicated people in-house that really are the experts and spend a lot of time digging through this material so that we can provide the highlights of what it is that people need to be prepared for. And so we really like to support the industry and show our own advocacy for the industry by showing that we can help them, and we can help them by really understanding a lot of these new regulations. It's all happening so fast. So yeah, that's one way that we're doing that.
That's a tricky line for some, right? In terms of, we want to put content out to add value to people's lives who we're working with, but you'll see organizations go in one direction or the other. One direction is, let's build content that's good enough, that hits all the keywords, and like, we can call it a resource, we can maybe put it behind a magnet or something like that, versus content that goes so far as maybe even giving them tools to assess other fits outside of you're within your competitive set. Like, I'd imagine in your industry, if you go with the latter, where it's just surface level content, you have no chance at penetrating a real relationship with them. So
yeah, I would say that 9 out of 10 times that'll miss the mark. They'll see it, but I really feel like people they could read into things pretty quickly. And if it's sounding salesy or it's sounding like it's very surface, they're not going to continue to engage with it. If it's something that's actually giving them actionable items to do, and I've done this in past organizations as well. And again, with COVID, that was a big part of like, how do we continue to have these conversations with people? Because now we can't get in front of them. So we don't have the ability to go to, key associations and do presentations and that sort of stuff. So we actually re-looked at, okay, business owners right now are in a very hard place. They didn't know how to navigate different things when it came to COVID. So how do we educate them on what they can do to help? Rather than us just be there, buy this or we do this. It's here's what you need to know, and here are the things that need to be addressed right away. And here are some tools. Like, we even gave free ways that they could go through and see, how they're going to map out that next year to whenever, so that they had a resource to keep going to.
Interesting. Is there a moment in time in your where marketing starts to give way to sort of a sales conversation? Is there a moment in time for your target customers where they get an aha moment. They've experienced a small taste of what it would be like to work with Westgen, and it no longer is a nice to have. It's a must have. Is there something in your experience that sort of clicks the light bulb for people as it relates to your offering?
Yeah, like I think that, and especially in the energy industry, is it's very relationship based. So, having good, content and good people, and then a good face to the market that's boots on the ground. I think definitely people want to work with an organization over another organization, um, just based on some of the relationships that our team have.
Yeah. When shifting gears to a different topic, and I talk to a lot of marketing leaders about the idea of building, managing, nurturing, supporting teams that they're involved with. How much a part of that is within your current role or in roles past, and how do you approach the idea of building team, whether that's a combination of internal and external or one or the other?
Yeah, so I would say right now, definitely in the process of building team. We're a scale up company, so we're growing. But in past, I've always had teams and grown teams and developed teams.
Hmm.
Um, so I think that really a big thing is just being available and being there to help people walk through what their current challenges are when they're trying to build something on my team. So um, I like I like people to be able to come to me and say, "Hey, look, this is the idea I'm having. This is how it would work," and then challenging them a little bit on, okay, well, how can we take it a little bit further? How can we do this a little bit more? And I would say that through my career, I've met some amazing people, and a lot of them have come to different organizations with me. So just being able to build that, really good, open, um, being able to provide their feedback, me being able to provide my feedback, that collaboration is just massive. And I think that's what's successful on a team. It's not me saying, no, you can't do that. It's just around how do we, do more? Or how do we collaborate on this? Or this is amazing, or however it might be.
How do you leverage KPIs and accountability measurements within your teams in the past, and planning to do so in the future? How do you use that to your advantage to create impact out of a team?
Sure. So I'm really big on analytics and everything that I do, and I think it's extremely important because it helps me pivot when things need to pivot. Again, I think COVID was a very big like aha moment to a lot of people that we really need to focus more on these analytics because we don't want to go to market fragmented either. You don't just want to have, one and dones and this and that. So how do you make sure that the ball is continuously rolling? And I think with any strategy or plan that I've executed, I always and team as well, we've always had a brief or some sort of document that does really lay out what those key KPIs are. And then as a team, that's reviewed quite often. And in my marketing plans, actually with the executive teams, I always include all of that information more in a snapshot that we can go through quarterly. And just as a bigger team, figure out what's working, what's not working, and where we need to maybe make some changes.
You mentioned your executive team there as it relates to reporting, like because as you know, many marketing leaders don't have the added benefit or the advantage of having tight synergy and integration at that level. Tell me about your situation, and how is that critical for you, and maybe even reverse engineering the way you build marketing plans from sort of organizational goal set level first and then downwards. Do you have that opportunity internally? And
Yeah. So I've always made it that actually a priority for myself. Working for really large organizations or working for small organizations is to have some sort of connection into that team. Because really, if you don't understand what the objectives are as a whole, you can't make your objectives from a marketing perspective that's going to support the overall firm or company. So I've always made an effort at really trying to get a voice at the table when I can. Now that's not always doable, but then that's where I think those strategy documents are extremely important, because that's something that then can go to maybe your boss or somebody higher up that is shared at more of an executive budgeting level, especially when you're trying to ask for more money.
Yeah.
That's a good way to do it, so that they have the support, they understand why you're doing what you're doing, how you're going to measure what you're doing, and then when key timelines are for execution. So that's just one way that I've in large organizations have had success getting into those higher conversations that physically I maybe not be in.
Right. You're in a unique situation where you've had both experiences. You come into an established brand organization and kind of jumped onto a moving train, if you will, to take over the leadership of the marketing function. And then in this case, you have opportunity sort of to blank slate it a little bit. A lot of people I talk to are obviously in one of those two camps, but a lot more recently are given the opportunity to build from scratch.
Yeah.
So if you were to give some perspective or insights or ideas in terms of how to approach that, what might you say?
To really understand the business overall is the biggest thing. So when I join an organization, I'll take a little bit of a step back approach to really learn as to what we're trying to do, where are we trying to go, what are the key things that we need to do this year. And then from there, take the time to really put together a proper marketing plan. And yes, I know it's work, and a lot of people don't want to put in the effort, but it makes a huge difference. And I think it also helps really build that credibility piece with yourself and the executive team, because you've taken a lot of time to understand where they currently are, where they want to be, and now you're giving them how they're going to get there.
Right. One thing that goes into all of that, of course, is budgeting and how in certain cases you get allocated an annual budget. Here's your budget. In some cases, depending on how long you've been there, it's like you tell us what the budget is. But let's say that you were in a scenario of regardless of how the budget was established, you have a budget. How do you think about allocation? Because that becomes a pretty tough topic for a lot of marketing leaders.
Yeah. It goes back to the plan. So if you really understand what the organization's strategic objectives are, you can build out what those objectives for you are going to be to help them meet those objectives. And then from there, I think it really does help build out where those allocations go. So for example, right now we're looking at, how do we drive leads, and one part of that is how do we get more marketing qualified leads. So there's a lot more focus now on, okay, what's our digital strategy, how are we gonna improve our website so that we have better capture, what kind of events will we do, and what will the follow-up be so that we can capture those leads. So that now helps me build out where I need to spend my money. So it may be less on attending this conference and more on, okay, how are we going to get people to, sign up for this monthly newsletter that we have, or whatever it might be.
Yeah. What was I going to say as it relates to budgeting? Setting a budget is one thing, right? With your initial sort of hypothesis and belief, and then talk to me a little bit about your ability to kind of navigate on the fly and adjust on the fly as you go. So Now the idea of reallocation, which is another hot topic.
Yeah. And I would say this is gonna happen. It's gonna happen. So one thing, and just in the starting of the whole budget process, I can put together my wish list and get a budget, or they can give me a number and here's your budget. But 9 out of 10 times it's going to get cut. So that's just reality of marketing. It's the first place that's going to get hacked. So always having, I guess, a plan B. So I always go in with, okay, here's how my plan's going to be. Here's what the budget's going to be. Knowing that if we need to make a change, if we need to make a cut, I know exactly which ones are going to be first.
Right.
So understanding, what are your must-haves, what are your maybes, and then being able to make those adjustments. Also, again, going back to the KPIs. So if we're doing, some LinkedIn campaign or something, and we're not getting any sort of lead capture, well, let's take that away and reallocate it. Or have we given it enough time? Do we need to, do more? Do we need to change some of that? I think all of those, having that, again, that structure and that plan helps really navigate those changes that may have to be made.
Interesting. It seems like you kind of like this game of marketing.
I do. And that's why analytics, it's funny because somebody asked me the other day, like, how do you know all this analytics stuff? And I said, you know what? I've had to justify my budget more than one time, and this is how I do it. Because
that's a huge point you just said right there, right? I mean, like, but I think that, too many times marketing dollars are seen as a cost, or they're showing up as a cost center, less so much an investment center with predictable and expected returns. And I guess our job as marketers is to pursue the fulfillment of a business case, so that it becomes very clearly an investment, not what traditionally it's showing up as is the cost center. Because then you're the cost center.
Totally. But also I think understanding and educating, again, going back to that, educating the higher ups on, it does take a number of steps to get someone who has never seen our brand before engaged. So yes, we have all these analytics, and yes, they're showing return, but there's a whole set of other things that are going on that don't. A billboard isn't going to give me analytics or this is what it has to be. But I may receive numerous phone calls saying, hey, I saw this, or we heard you on the radio and we heard this. And that stuff just verifies that those things that I can't put numbers to are working. They're just working in a different way.
Okay, you bring up a really good point. I want to go down a bit of a path here. So someone in, say, like the leadership level or executive level or whatever, that doesn't have as much hands-on experience in building and managing marketing systems. I understand why this is, but their impulse is to look for you to report on things that have direct attribution. So how do you go about a long-term sort of education cycle internally to describe the difference between direct and maybe implied attribution, and that it's a holistic sort of customer value journey that you're looking to architect and nurture, versus what most people want to see, which is, hey, I put $1 into this function, I want $48 out, or whatever.
Yeah, and that's a hard thing to educate on. I will say, I think COVID made it even worse, because then all of a sudden everything went digital. So then everybody just assumed that you're going to be able to report on this and this and this and this and this. So I think education wise, I try to package things in a full campaign. So here's what we're trying to do. And then here's how we're going to do it. And here's how we're going to do it. I think walking them through all of the different elements and how they work and why this supports this and why this does this. it builds trust with the leaders that you know what you're talking about, and it does remove some of that, well, why can't you report on that? Because you've explained to them right up front what the purpose is, how you're going to do it, what you're going to measure, what you're not going to measure, but why it's important, right up front before they've even said, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a huge piece of advice that I want to echo and share to anyone listening, is that it's not just about putting a report together. There's a pre-step, which is kind of a co-created experience internally to educate on this, on the logic behind reporting and how reports come together. Then the numbers become more accepted because they had a hand in almost crafting that measurement strategy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that goes for everything. If you're really trying to get something over the finish line, having buy-in by that from that key person, whether it be your executive, your boss, your, partner, whatever, the fact that they have contributed to the strategy and the plan helps a lot when it comes to the execution, because they feel like they were a part of it.
Yeah, people support what they help create, don't they?
Exactly.
And it's
Yeah.
kind
And
of
it's
like,
exciting.
yeah,
It's
totally.
exciting. Yeah.
It's like there's a little bit of hesitation to try to poke holes and think, hey, what's going on with this and this? Because it's like, actually, my fingerprint is a little bit on that, so I'm going to
Yeah.
support it.
Yes.
That's cool, and the way to do it. A lot of organizations and marketing leaders are working with a mix of some internal critical people and external partners. This is another big topic, is that how do you, in experiences in the past or now, how do you enter into good, healthy external partnership relationships? And what are some of the tips you can give in terms of ensuring that A, you've picked the right group, and B, you're consistently playing your part in nurturing the relationship? What are you looking for out of a partner in that regard?
Yeah, like we just went through this exact step. So I think the things to do is really find where there is alignment between yourself and it could be a contractor, it could be an agency, it could be, whoever that's there helping you out. But making sure that you do the work to interview multiple people and then understand it's no different than really bringing on somebody directly that is a fit for the organization, that you're going to work well with, and your visions align, I think is really important. I have worked with, multiple agencies, and there has been times where it's almost like you're being bulldozed into, no, you have to do this. And it's kind of like, no, I don't actually need to do that. And I don't really agree with what you're putting together, because there is times where there's agencies out there that are just looking to get the next dollar. What can we charge them for? What can we do more of? And there's others that I have worked with that are amazing and just true partners. They want to be there to support you, and they flat out will tell you, you can do that yourself, right? Like, you don't need us. We're here to set you up so that you don't need us, but we're always here to help, because at the end of the day, I don't know everything. So I will, often reach out to them and ask for advice, or, can we talk about this or walk through this? And there's also times where it's like, give us your budget. We'll tell you what we can do within that budget and what we need you to do. And I think that is huge, because it shows me that, we really are a partnership.
Yeah, that's awesome. For some younger marketing managers or directors, what are some of the things that you can share that represent obvious red flags that this is not going to be a partnership, but this is going to be in the early, say, first 90 days, right? That this is going to be a little bit more of a bulldozing type relationship, as you said. Is there anything that sticks out?
Yeah, I think I have personally witnessed like people trying to go above your head and almost leave you out of the conversation. That's a huge red flag,
Yeah.
because they're trying to go up above and around you, which is not what it is and what it should be. And then getting surprise costs added on to things is also something I have seen. Or, oh, we forgot about this, and now here's an extra $2,000. That will happen. So I think that just really establishing the relationship on, my role, your role, is important, and to watch that that's being followed, because if it's not being followed, then that's a big red flag.
Those surprise costs would be annoying. Like I've only ever been on agency side,
Yeah.
And I think that, myself and my partner and our team, we try to put ourselves in the shoes of
Yeah.
marketing leaders, is like, and without getting too sophisticated about it, it's like, what would be annoying to them? Okay, like these 10 things would be annoying to them. So why don't we do it in a way that's not annoying to them? So
Yeah.
because I guess that you kind of touched on is that if you're going to work with someone externally, it should be to obviously help create bandwidth support or gaps in expertise, but ultimately it comes down to making your life better.
Yep.
And whatever that looks like, right? Easier, more amplified in terms of results that you can show to your team. So anyways, that's a big topic with people. And, there's so many times we've talked to marketing leaders where they're so skeptical to have a conversation because they just got burned so bad in the past. And it's like,
I don't think, I'm definitely not skeptical. I'm all for it, in fact, because I can't do everything, and I am not an expert in everything. I know what I know, honestly, from working with contractors and working with agencies, and them teaching me along the way. That's honestly the way that I've learned a lot of the digital side of what we do is, I'm not actually a spring chicken, surprising enough. So social media, I'm kind of actually on the tail end of when that all even started. So for me, I didn't grow up with it. So trying to really understand it, I've learned that a lot through different partnerships and agencies that I've worked with. So I think it can be an extremely beneficial thing, as long as it's a fit.
Yeah. I've only kind of known you for a short while and had a few conversations in the past, but pretty smart. You got you got it. You're on top of it. So this leads to my next question, which is, I guess as professionals in any field of life, we need to find time to sharpen our own swords, or kind of like develop our own understanding. Are there any ways that you can find in between family and work, and what are they that you go like a go-to? How do you continue your learning?
So that's a big piece for me, is to continue learning, because marketing moves so fast. And it's funny, I actually went to a presentation and they actually referred to marketing as the junk drawer, because when people don't really know where things fit, it seems to fall into marketing. So it is kind of funny, I would say probably half truth, but there's a lot of things as I've kind of grown that have become more important. So now, you hear a lot more about account-based marketing, or you hear partnership marketing, or there's all these different things, the customer journey and understanding that, and how are you going to measure that, and all that's been lumped into marketing. So I'm a member of the B2B marketers, so they have a lot of like really good resources and a lot of webinars. I also try to align myself with other marketing leaders that I can bounce ideas off of, and I have quite a few people that I'll call, or they'll call me, and we'll kind of run through different scenarios and figure out what makes the most sense, and what they've learned. Even past organization, when they get something that they think is interesting, they'll send it to me, and vice versa. So I think all that, just having a really good network, and then just finding courses that you think make the most sense for you. Even I think it's HubSpot has like a whole free resource section too, that I've spent time there. So
Oh, that's good. I think the idea of you can read, or you can align yourself with other professionals and just kind of build a little network, a little cheat sheet guide network.
Yeah.
That's cool. I only have one more question here, and that is going back to Westgen. What's on the horizon? As much as you can share, what's on the horizon for this company, and what do you think you and your team's top couple challenges are going to be going forward? What are you excited about tackling together as a team?
I think we're really excited to tackle this methane elimination challenge together. It's something I think everybody's really passionate about, and trying to meet all these different regulations and support the industry as much as we can doing so. Um, and then some challenges are definitely going to be, and this is something to note anyone that is doing a name change, is that we are established in Canada. So, and I've seen a lot of these fail where the names just don't work, or they don't stick, or there wasn't a great launch or whatever. And then people are still calling it the old name. So that'll be a challenge for us for sure, but something that I'm really excited about because we have a really good plan and a good partnership. Everybody here is on board to really make it successful. So I think it'll be awesome. We're also looking at tackling the US market a lot more. And so that'll be a big focus going into this next year, and really building the foundation that we need to build is going to be a challenge, but I know that we're going to be able to do it because we just have such an awesome team here.
That's awesome. Well, I certainly learned a lot chatting with you, and I think others will as well. So thanks so much. It's great to reconnect, and thanks for sharing your perspective and expertise.
For sure.